Yeah, thanks, Jarek. A couple things before we get to our team and to Bakersfield. So I mentioned it on the pregame. Coach Crawford was home for a family funeral this past weekend, and Seth was able to step in and assume his full-time coaching duties for our practice on Friday and for the game against Northern Illinois. Croft got back to town late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, so he's back and will reassume his coaching duties. I talked about Biggie Goldman on the pregame with Eric, and just touch on it with everybody here today. So my conversations with Biggie as we've gone through the fall in our meetings and talking about where he's at in our rotation and the role that he was in before we played the Old Dominion game. And he processed that information, took it back to his family, and they talked about it. And Biggie came back and sat down with Coach Green, and they had a good talk about it. Then the three of us sat down and had a good long talk about it as well. And Biggie and his family, asked and, made the decision if it was possible to redshirt this year and to hold on to this year. So he's scheduled to graduate in May. By holding on to this year and redshirting, it would allow him to use the graduate transfer rule and find a place next year where in his, in our conversations and in Biggie's thinking, he wants to, find a place where he is in a role that's going to have, whether it's a starting role or not, but a role where he's going to be playing 25 minutes a night, 28 minutes a night, maybe 32 minutes a night, and have the kind of role where not only are you playing those kind of minutes, but have an opportunity to impact a team on game day. And then also, that's also the place where you get better. That's a place where you improve, is when you're on the game floor and you're in those situations. And so both for him as a senior playing basketball next year, and then also to see if he can't set himself up to find a place to play professionally overseas. So as I mentioned, we had some good talks about it from our standpoint as a staff, our standpoint as a program. Fully support his decision and his family's decision to want to go this route. He will remain a full-time participant at practice, a full-time member of our program. The only thing that's going to change, guys, is he won't play in the games and he won't travel with us. Everything else is going to stay exactly the same as we go through this, the rest of this year. So wanted to get that to you. And then Nick will be putting out a press release on a young man by the name of Jamie Straka. Jamie will be an honorary captain for us on Saturday against Northern Colorado. Jamie is a longtime friend and family friend of Spencer Haldeman. They go all the way back to their days at Western Dubuque. Jamie's been battling cancer, diagnosed when he was, I believe, 5 years old, and has been battling that ever since. Has had some better news and been feeling really good. Maybe about a year ago, things after battling it for a long time, was able to make some real strides forward, and he's doing good right now. He's a student here at Northern Iowa. And he will be with us as an honorary captain. So for the rest of the information on it and his story, man, it's a tremendous story of courage and determination, with Jamie, and it's a real inspiration. We had a chance to, with the golf outing over in Dubuque at the end of September, had a chance to be with Jamie and their family after the golf outing was over and talk with him and see him and see his family. And you talk about and I talked about it a little bit that night, with Spencer and Luke there as guys on our current team. But man, just a great story and a great inspiration. Really determined and a guy that is doing good right now. So fun to see. So he'll be an honorary captain for us on Saturday. With that, we're playing a team on Wednesday night in Bakersfield that. They've got a pretty experienced group. Got some guys back. They had a couple of transfers that were sitting out. So for the most part, their roster is most of them are juniors. A handful of them are redshirt juniors. I think just one of them is a sophomore, but the majority of their team is in that junior class. So guys that have either played at Bakersfield or they have played at another Division I school and sat out a year ago. And they've got good length. Guys, they play really hard. They do some stuff in the full court where they're going to press on a number of possessions. Really active with what they're doing. They turned South Dakota State over and able to get 18, 19, 20 points off live ball turnovers. They really get to the offensive glass. They were able to get 17 or 18 points on putbacks off of offensive rebounds. So we've got an experienced, really active team that plays really hard. It's going to be more, things are going to happen more in the full court than what we would have seen with Old Dominion when we were home for the opener, where the Old Dominion, both our teams were going to play man-to-man in the half court. There wasn't going to be a lot going on in terms of pressing or playing in the full court. This game looks like it's going to be a little bit different. Bakersfield is going to do things more, more all over the court, if you will. So got a good team coming in here Wednesday. With that, I would take your questions. Yeah, that's going to be a fun matchup with him and Austin, and they've also got another guy at that center position. We've got James coming off the bench for us. They've got another player that plays fairly significant minutes at the center spot. So, right now there's two guys on each team. Now Stith for them has done more of the scoring the way that Austin has done for us, and he played. I tell you what, Stith played great against South Dakota State, and he's got a great feel on the block. He's big and mobile, really good footwork, really good hands, able to get to the free throw line. He is that's going to be a fun matchup to see him and Austin go at it a little bit.
What going from game 1 to game 2, what impressed you with the win on Saturday at Northern Illinois?
Yeah, I really liked our first half. Yeah, we played really good basketball in the first half, and I think that's coming out of the opener against Old Dominion. There were some things that we obviously wanted to get to. Some things that we felt like we needed to do better, and we showed those in the first half. And I give our guys a lot of credit for that, coming out and in a first road game against a good team, and being able to put some of those adjustments and some of that film work, some of the practice time, put it into play right away and put together a great first half. And it's one of the things Coach Glass used to tell us this all the time. Coach Glass is my college coach at the University of North Dakota. He used to tell us all the time that you don't know which stretch of possessions or at what point in the game that stretch of possessions is going to be the difference. And for us on Saturday at Northern Illinois, it wasn't the opening set of possessions. It was 7-7 at about the 15-minute mark. But we hit a stretch of 10 possessions shortly after that where we got out, I think, 23-15. And if it wasn't that stretch, it was the one just after that. We had two really good stretches in that first half, and those ones put us in a position. And if you look back at all of the possessions in the game, one of those two stretches was the difference in that basketball game. And I refer to those because those are coming out of, then, like I said, that's coming out of the film work. That's coming off the practice floor. That's coming out of our feedback from the Old Dominion game. And the guys did a great job of putting that into action there in that first half. And then there were some things in the first half that we didn't do exactly right. In the second half, there was more for us to learn from. There's a lot for us to learn from in that second half.
Did you feel like you rebounded better in this one for the Old Dominion?
Yeah, we did for about 30 minutes. There was probably about 10 minutes in that game at Northern Illinois when the game we turned it over a little bit and the game got going up and down, and they were able to get to the basket a little bit. They took a couple of longer jump shots, and we needed to block out better on some of those possessions in the second half. Now the first half, we did a very good job. We got on our blockouts. Our technique was good. We were physical with our blockouts. We had guys that were aggressive to go and get it at the defensive end. So it was good in the first half. In the second half, it needed to be better, and that showed up on our rebounding chart. There were some guys that did not do their job well enough on the defensive glass.
You played 7 guys double-digit minutes. Noah Carter played 8. Is that something? Do you try and expand that a little bit more with all the games coming up, or?
Yeah, I guess I'm not as much in terms of the games that are coming up, having 4 games basically in 7 or 8 days. More interested in just continuing to develop the roster. Continuing to develop the guys and the rotation. Ty was terrific, and Obviously a full-time guy, really a sixth starter, and you hear that thrown around from time to time from coaches, but Ty was, every bit a starter in that game. People like to view starters differently than guys that come off the bench, and other than getting your name called, it is what it is. So Ty was terrific, and he's a full-time guy, as we know, and great to have him healthy. And his activity level was off the charts in that first half, and he made some good plays in the second half as well. But his activity was great for him, but even better for our team. That had a real impact on the way our team played in that first half. So, and then you're looking at the three freshmen beyond that, right? And James and Noah both good again. We gave Antoine kind of the same 3.5, 4 minute shot, and I would anticipate that James and Noah will be guys that it's going to be between 6 and 15 minutes a game, and you'd like to get it to the point where it's pretty consistent, more between kind of 12 and 15. And Antoine's going to get a second shot. He's going to get a second 3.5, 4 minute stretch here. And that may be Wednesday, where he's up to more 8 to 10 minutes instead of just one shot. So those things I feel like will come, and they could come pretty soon, Gare. And what that does, of course, and on the other end is, and we already saw it with Fife, his minutes came down. I think from 32 down to 25. AJ and Spencer were down from kind of like it was 37, 36. They were down to, I think, 32 and 30, right? So that's that feels like it's the direction that we're headed. But it'll be based on how guys play. It'll be based on, if guys are ready, as the young guys, if they're ready for that 12 to 15 minutes, which based on what I've seen in 2 games, I think they are. I think Noah and James are plenty ready for 12 to 15 minutes, whatever that means in terms of the game that we're playing. And I think Antoine's ready for another stretch. Get him a second or third stretch of 3 to 4 minutes. So, we like what the bench was. That bench was terrific. In that first half, that was those 3 guys in particular were great. Able to get some points, but more important, their activity level was terrific. Yeah, I think I continue to think it's awesome, man. I just I think it's one of the coolest things that could happen for at this level for a young guy to be able to go to the practice every day and have your dad there with you, and for Kyle to see your son every day, and in this profession, if AJ's playing at a different school, not only do they not see each other every day, but Kyle isn't going to see many of his games, right? And AJ isn't going to have his dad at very many games because Kyle's going to be on our bench and we're playing a lot of the same nights, right? So even beyond just seeing each other every day on the practice floor or seeing each other in the office, that game night thing it's real and it's a big deal. So all of those things, man, I just think it's awesome. And and then you take it one step further, and their communication at times in practice, being able to bounce some things off each other during the course of the game. Being able to talk about a few things and bounce some things off each other. There's so many parts to it that are awesome, and I've really appreciated how Kyle has handled his duties as a dad, and duties is the wrong word. Duties as an assistant coach, responsibilities as a dad would be a better way of the correct way of phrasing it. How he's done that, he's been great in managing that aspect, and AJ's been he's at practice. Kyle's not dad, Kyle's KG. When he refers to him, or so they're doing a great job with it. But I'm continue to enjoy that relationship.
James, that's kind of surpassed what you thought he was going to be able to do coming in, and what's allowed him to pass a couple guys on the depth chart that were going into their senior years and make play major minutes there.
Yeah, we had some thoughts of redshirting James for a long time, and just based on who we returned, Austin coming back. And where James was at, feeling like, there's some things that he's doing pretty well, but he could really benefit from a redshirt year. And these were some conversations that we had, as coaches. These are some of the thoughts that I had as we were getting toward the end of the summer and we were getting into things in the fall. And but he just, he kept playing better and better and better every 10 days to 2 weeks, going all the way back to the summer. You could just see him getting a little bit better, see him getting a little more comfortable. You could see him getting more confident. And then he played great in the scrimmage against South Dakota State. And he had started to open our eyes a little bit to, hey, we're going to need to rethink this in terms of where we're at in the rotation and who's earned which minutes and what we should be looking at. And then he played great in the scrimmage against South Dakota State, as I mentioned, and we continue to give him some practice reps, and he's taken off with it. Now, one of the things I would tell you about James is he's put in a ton of time, and I think that's something that that travels across, whether you're a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, a senior, what your role was the year before, how you might be playing right now, like the hard work in investment of on the court. Individual investment, like, man, that travels across everything, and he's earned it from that standpoint. You go back to the summer, and he was in here a lot, and he's continued that this fall, and so he deserves a lot of credit. Not knowing what his role was going to be as a true freshman, he came in here this summer and just lived in the gym, and he deserves a ton of credit for that.
Is there anything else to it other than he's just played maybe better or earned more minutes than Luke, or is it injury? Is there anything?
No, it's simply the evaluation at practice. Their performance on the practice floor, and what's going to be best for our team. And he's earned himself that spot in our rotation right now. Who else? All right, thanks.